Yo, Num, I'll give you 20 bucks if you throw your...
Hello viewers, and welcome to my TED Talk. Today I will be talking about and sharing something that is very dear and very special for me. I'm making this video not just to talk about this in from my own personal experience, to get my experience out there, but also it has a deeper meaning. After this video, hopefully somebody is going to do something about this issue. All right, so without further ado,
Insane transition, bro.
why Lego needs to bring back Bionicle, an indisputable point of view. So, table of contents, there will be none. I will not be spoiling anything for you. First point, they don't make music like they used to. What I mean about this is that back then, for the Bionicle's commercials, they used this awesome slow rock music genre. I think it's just called slow rock, and it was very metal, and it was, got you pumped, and especially if you were a boy, right? One of the artists they used was Daughtry, and he still produces music. Actually, today I heard YouTube recommended just out of the blue one of his songs. Well, it's not his song, but it's his cover called. Now I can't remember, but it's a cover with another creator, Lizzie. I think it's called. Let me quickly find it. I know it's somewhere here. Oh yeah, Separate Ways. A really good song. I highly recommend you listen to it. Also, a rock band gained popularity because of Bionicles. Now, which one? Cryo Shell. They were formed in... I don't really want to lie about this, so I'm just not gonna say any precise numbers because I didn't do my homework on this and look it up. But it's a Danish rock band. I think Danish. Should be Danish. But, and they created very cool songs for Bionicle, and they, I think, also had their own like standalone album, but mostly they did songs for Bionicle, like Gravity Hurts, Creeping in My Soul, which was for the Baraki theme, and Gravity Hurts was for Fantoka, I think. Could be for that one, yeah. And the third one was Face Me. Might be for the Mahri theme. Wave, don't really know. But all of these three songs were super awesome. And they, of course, did lots more for Bionicle. I'm gonna be using this very frequently in this video because lots of talking, lots of subjects to get into. Right, so on to the next. Also, Bionicle literally saved Lego. In 2003, Lego almost went bankrupt. If I'm not mistaken, actual revenue in 2002 and 2003 was like 1/5 or even 1/7 of what they actually projected for those years. And for that reason, they also almost went bankrupt. And it was not the most reasons for this happening was they were like overstretching themselves with different themes. The sales weren't really that great. At this time, Bionicle accounted for 25% of their revenue. To put that into perspective, Lego had 24 themes going on for them. At that time, they were actively making these themes sell and, everything else. But Bionicle accounted for 25% of their whole revenue. And the funniest part, 100% of their profits came from this single franchise. 100%. It's a big win for Bionicles, I know. And in that year, $160 million were generated through Bionicle in that year. Many fans, also, the next point. many fans voted for Bionicles. In 2021, Lego held a fan vote, and it was like supposed to. It was for the Lego's 90th birthday, I think, and it was supposed to be like this. We will bring back any classic theme that the fans vote for. So they made a vote, yeah. So overall, 30 themes were competing, one of which was Bionicle. It had two voting rounds. So for the first round of voting, also I want to add that this was the only round for voting where the votes were actually made public. Altogether, 77,000 votes, and Bionicle received almost 25k of the votes. So nearly a third of the votes went for the Bionicle. Again, a huge win for Bionicle. This was, by the way, Bionicle was on top of the list, the first place. And for the final round of voting, Castle theme won. And even more upsetting was that the votes were not disclosed to the public for the last round. This was Castle theme. Now, I gotta give credit where the credit is due. Castle theme was pretty cool. I didn't own any set, but I wanted one as a kid. Yeah, nothing against Castle theme, but it shouldn't have been winning, you know? It shouldn't have won. Bionicle should have. And even more so that Lego didn't disclose the votes on the second round.
Hello everyone, editor speaking here. Giannis' camera for some reason turned off and we don't know why, or at least I don't know. So there will be no face cam for the rest of the video. Sorry.
In my mind, Lego is just like, we already have assets for the castle theme, you know, and for the Bionicle theme, we obviously would need to make something new. So they were like, nah, okay, we're just gonna roll with what we already have and not make this what people clearly wanted a reality. So I don't know. Also, I went actually and checked if this was really true, and yes, people really did comment that they wanted Bionicle, clearly. Next point. Every Chad boy wanted one. When I was in the primary school, well, this is sort of my personal experience, because I've heard that many other kids didn't have this experience, but yeah, in my school, every boy had one, if they weren't poor or gay. Back then, by the way, the word "gay" was a really strong word for a little kid to use. It still had some meaning behind it. Nowadays, this word is. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like nowadays that this word isn't a cuss word anymore, but I'm just stating facts that back then people were a lot more conservative, so it was used as a cuss word back then, especially in Latvia. I think Latvia is still like somewhere on the top for being homophobic, but I might be totally wrong about this. We have a gay president after all, so. Also, your social status also was highly influenced by which Bionicles you had. So if you had like just a small one, you know, at least you had something. But if you had one of the big sets, oh boy, you were all, I wanted to say all the boys were all over you, but that wouldn't be really right to say. They were, because they wanted to play with those sets too, but yeah. This is a realistic representation of what it looked like if you didn't have a Bionicle. Not really, but this is how I imagined it in my head. So what was actually my first Bionicle? It was the Visorak Wave, and it was the Vohtarak. Yeah, the naming for these guys was quite interesting. But yeah, it was this red spider thing. It was a cool wave. There were also the heroes. The heroes also had like at least one of them had like this shooting disc, and the whole wave was pretty cool. The mechanics for this one was like you pressed its back, and the little snappers went like this. Yes. They closed shut. Yeah, it looked like it seriously had these mandibles that worked. It was cool, and also it had this cool shooty thingy, the disc. Now I did lose my disc very quickly because I shot it somewhere and I never found it, but still the function was very cool. I found it on Etsy, by the way, and to be fair, I was expecting it to cost a lot more than it does, but I guess enough time hasn't really passed since Bionicles were the past, you know. In the future, I guarantee that they will cost a lot more, but we'll have to wait for that. And I think I might start stockpiling these for that when that future actually does come. Next point, of course, the lore. First of all, I want to say that when I was a kid, I actually didn't know this, but Lego actually created a separate lore for Bionicles. It wasn't like there was lore and then the toys, you know, like with Transformers. With Transformers, there was lore first, the movies, the animated shows, and after that, only the toys came. For this, there were the toys, and the lore was made for the toys. It was super interesting marketing tactic. Basically, the whole lore about this in a few words was Lego created a story about heroes that battle darkness to save their world and ancient secrets on Matanui. Now, what is Matanui? It's the island they live on, and even more so, I didn't know this, but I did know that it, like, the whole thing was happening on the face of this huge robot, but I didn't know that actually a lot was also happening inside the head. Yeah, it was pretty surprising to see this. So yeah, the whole thing was happening on this island called Mata Nui, which was also the big robot. And spoiler alert, in the end, the robot came alive, and I don't really remember what happened next. I think the Glatorian wave started after that, which was, we'll get to that later. Yeah, basically the lore itself was anywhere from like cosmic huge entities all the way down to the little citizens. It was very thought out. It was very cool. They told the lore through comic books, books and novels, movies. They actually made like 4 movies, I think. It was very impressive. And I mean, they did have, I think, decent budget for them, and for that time they looked pretty good. Now they have not aged that well, but still impressive. Online games, online websites, and sadly that website is no longer available. And PC games, this specific game that you can see on the screen, I received on Christmas. My parents gifted it to me. I was incredibly excited, nearly myself. The only one problem was that I didn't have a computer to play it on, so the only place I could play it on was at my cousin's house. They had he had a computer which could play this game on, and yeah, it was an interesting game. However, looking back at it now, I sort of understand why I got stuck in some places, because it was pretty frustrating at times that I was playing and I couldn't get anywhere because I did something wrong. So maybe the developers something up, I don't know. But as a kid, I remember it was a bit tough, and you had to do stuff in specific like order and you know, not to f anything up, because if you f the order up, then you couldn't like progress in the game. It was sometimes frustrating. Maybe I was just really stupid back then, which was probably true. I also think the developers sort of something up. I don't know, or wasn't thought that well through. But anyways, the game itself was very playable. I enjoyed it through commercials too. The commercials, like for the Mari theme, Jesus, now that was a cool commercial. I'd suggest you, for you to understand what I'm talking about, I'd suggest you actually take a look at it. And also in this specific commercial, Daughtry song, I don't remember which one, but was playing in the background. And yeah, the commercial was highly. I don't know how much budget they had, but they clearly had enough budget. Yeah, through the toys themselves. This set in particular was like they were fighting the Baraki, and the Mari were fighting the Baraki under the water. And yeah, the sets themselves were a part of the talking the lore through them. Sorry for my English. Next point. Also, the packaging was also the part of the lore, for the most part. Not for the later generations, but for the most of them. So, for example, these. I don't remember what this theme was. This wave was called, but yeah. So these packaging was supposed to be like the pods dropping from the sky. And yeah, and after also they were quite useful too. After you were done playing with your Bionicles, you could just put them back in the pod, you know. And then you could take it out like in I don't know, some sci-fi movie where somebody comes out of a cryo chamber and then gets reanimated. And yeah, and also Mahri theme had this interesting packaging with which you could also play. You know, you can see the holes where you could stick the pins in and then attach something on them. And in these holes you could attach some ammo. And you know, the box itself was also had also the potential to be a part of your play experience. Okay, so let's talk about the generations. This is the tough part for me, because I'm a firm believer that, first of all, there were two generations. The first one was, I think, until 2009 or 2010, and the other one was from 2015 or something. I don't remember. But yeah, in my true opinion, I don't think that there is a single true Bionicles fan that would tell you otherwise, that the second generation was actually a spit in the face of God. Because look at it, look at everything. I mean, from the first glance, damn, it looks cool. Okay, gotta give you that, it does. But look at the joints. The joints are so for the first Bionicle generation, the joints were like female and female, and then you would get the male and the male joint, right? That could connect. But this has a female part and the male part on the single joint, and then this thing where you could attach the armor. I hated this. For the previous generation, there were like holes where you would stack pins and then you would attach the armor. This was like too straightforward as a child. And don't even start me talking about the knuckle design. Jesus. I mean, yeah, I guess Knuckles more realistic, but again takes away from the imaginative experience, right? It didn't really do much to promote imaginative thinking of the, you know, of the how the hero would hold his weapons, or if you could, back then you could even design your own like claws and like hands and stuff. Now it's just made entirely for you. Yeah, the first generation is the only good generation. That is not disputable at all. I mean, look at this, was perfection. They would also incorporate these interesting mechanisms where you could sometimes like do stuff with the hero that wasn't just the armor or the hands, where you could move the hands and the feet, but this also had like some mechanisms to it. And look at the joints. See what I'm talking about? This was male and male. And also the hands, there were no hands. You would design your own, which was the whole point. You would design your own hero. There were 20 waves in total, and each year there were about 2 releases. So altogether, for the first generation ran for 10 years. And personally, my favorite waves were Baraki and Toa Mari in the 2007 waves, right? So 2 waves in 2007. And in 2008, the Fantoka and Mystica. Now, these 4 were absolutely my favorites because there was so much like you could build out of them, and you could combine them very easily, and it was also they were imaginative, and the lore was the deepest with these, in my personal experience. Like quite literally with Baraki and Mari, because they were in the water, and Fantoka was just awesome because they were in the skies and were flying. And I mean, the designs, look at them, look at the big shoes on this one. And like Fantokas, you could combine them in like 2 heroes on a separate you could combine the little dude with the big dude, so the little dude would attach on the big one's butt, and then they would fly together as a combined organism, you'd say. Also, the shooting mechanisms were very fun for the Fantoka and Mari. Sadly for the Mari, the little bullets could potentially, break if you like bend them. They were bendy, and if you accidentally bend them too hard, they would, not. They were bendy, but you could break them still. Also, sometimes, very rarely, but for the Mari, you could receive in your set a bullet that was defective, like it was shaped wrongly. Whereas with the balls, the balls were each time perfect, right? But yeah, choking hazard, obviously. I was one of those kids that liked to suck on these balls. This sounded wrong. And in my humble opinion, Sunset for the Bionicle as a whole started with the Glatorian waves. You could start noticing then that it was going, towards the end, sadly. Why am I telling it was starting the sunset? Because Glatorian was the whole lore behind Glatorian was that they were gladiators, and for me personally, each previous wave drop, or however you want to call them, was sort of following along this timeline, and it made sense. Each wave was wacky in its own way, but it made sense. However, with the Glatorian, a whole different story. It was about gladiators, and they were fighting each other in the arena. And I was like, previously they were fighting, the good guys were fighting the bad guys because of, they were trying to get the mask, and I don't know, it just felt very different from what we received at the end, right? The last Glatorian was like, they were like fighting each other now, and there were no, in my opinion, no clear sides. And also, they started the knuckle thing right there, which was, another reason for me not to be a big fan of these. The designs were starting to drop off in simpler terms. And yeah, and this was actually the one of the last waves. So Glatorian, and then the last one was Legends or something like that, or the Stars, or Bionicle Stars, I think, and that was in the same year, and that's it. No more Bionicle afterwards. I bet you didn't know this. Many didn't know, but actually, Lego did release a Bionicle comeback in 2021. Or might be incorrect. I don't know. In 2023, so last year, they actually did release a Bionicle. And drum roll, please. On what it looked like. Do you want to see? Are you crying already? Oh boy. I actually wrote in my notes specifically what my thoughts were about this, so I wouldn't forget. Granted, it might give more room for imagination as a child. You could build a lot more variables with this sort of design than with like the previous ones. I'll give them that. But honestly, it sucks. The design, it's not even a design. It's just in comparison to what they looked previously and what this abomination looks now. It's horrible. From a point of view of someone who used to own and love Bionicles, if I saw this in stores after this many years, right, I would now be thinking that if I thought that this is how Lego has decided to revive Bionicles, I would actually think that this is just half job, because what they looked like previously and what they now look like, it just doesn't compare at all. Whereas this is a proper Bionicle. How Bionicle changed my life. I learned very important concepts. So first of all, I learned the geometry, because you had to know how to fit the pieces together in order for them, for the male and female, as I previously talked, or if you wanted to put armor on, then you couldn't just put anything on a set part, right? It had to fit, so you learned that. Physics, very many physics, leverage, torque, centrifugal force, etc. So about torque, if you had a part that was sticking out more than necessary, it would just a classic with this was like with weapons. You wanted to set your little hero on a surface, and you wanted to give them like an overpowered weapon to hold in their hand, right? You would give it, and then the robot would like either fall over, or the hand would just like drop down, and it didn't look cool anymore. So also centrifugal force. Sometimes I would take. I was a real bastard of a god. In the eyes of my little heroes. I think I would take them by their legs or by their heads and start spinning them around until the head would detach and the body would just fly away. And of course, biomechanics. One of the best examples for this was I very quickly learned what would theoretically happen to a human body if it was dropped from 100 feet. I learned that by experimenting on my little heroes. When I dropped the little Toa from the second story of my bed, it would just shatter, and I would know you shouldn't do that to a living person. So an ethical thing, I guess, too. Also, I still listen to their music. I kid you not, when I pump steel when I do bench press, I listen to Gravity Hurts creeping in my soul. the classics from the Bionicle. Actually, an appropriate music for a gym. That also has I still like enjoy from them. Also, lifelong connections with my friends. Granted, not every kid I played Bionicles with, I have such a connection anymore, especially with those that were very aggressive with collecting. Like, I remember we would literally have like fights where if you lost the fight, then they would like take the mask from your Bionicle, and I'm not meaning like the Bionicles would fight. No, we would, like, as kids, would literally fight each other for the masks. I still have one friend with whom I regularly communicate, and he's a very dear friend to me. And I think it's not Bionicles might be have a little played a little role in keeping it as friends back then. So I'm also thankful for that. And of course, incredibly fond memories with them. And this is a realistic representation of your life as a young man when you actually did have a Bionicle. Thank you for watching. My TED Talk has concluded, and I hope that Lego will decide to properly this time bring back Bionicles, because god damn it, the last generation was awful. No real Bionicle fan enjoyed it, and it's an abomination. I hope if Lego decides to bring back Bionicles, they do it correctly this time. And please, with the proper lore. And god damn it, nobody wants Hero Factory. Never do that again. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Well, it's not actually over.
I just wanted to add I know I'm sitting down right now and I don't have pants, that's why I'm sitting down, so you wouldn't see it because my pants are currently washing. Maybe you can hear in the background the washing machine working. But yes, I went away from after this filming this video and walked around in nature. You know how much nature you can get in the city, and also talked with my mom about this topic. And I wanted to share some more thoughts about this, and just get the real reasons out there why I wanted to make this video. So first of all, I was thinking about this recently, and it's been on my mind for multiple of reasons. First of all, it's mostly because of history, right? Everything we put out there on the internet, it's sort of becoming a recorded history. Now, with this, as much of a influence it had on children, on me included, um, now there isn't like too much history about this, especially like from a perspective from a dude that used to play with these as a child. And there are some videos, admittedly, right? Obviously, people have made videos about this, but I think that there isn't enough history on this, and opinions, and your own personal experiences. I don't think that there is enough of that floating around. So I just wanted to put mine out there, and that is one reason. Second reason is I'm sort of connected to marketing in my day job. Not really like, well, I guess it's marketing too, but yeah. And I can just really appreciate the whole work that was done on the marketing side of Bionicle, especially with like the lore since I previously told that lore was actually a big part of this franchise theme being successful, yeah, I can really appreciate the work that was put into this and all the creative work and yeah, the money also that was pushed into this. I mean, huge, right? So I can really appreciate that from that point of view too. And number three is for I remember that my parents. My parents have always been very understanding, and they always wanted to know about my inner world more. But for other parents, I don't think that they truly understood the added value of this specific toy. I mean, for example, the how you needed to tinker with them, right? The little parts, that how you put them all together. I mean, this was essentially a Lego Technic piece, right? It was sort of a branch from the Lego Technic that was made specifically for uh, a bit older audiences, so they would get to tinker more with technology, I think. But yeah, but this was sort of like it really helped to improve your cognitive movements because you had to as I said, tinker and pull stuff apart and put them together. That was like a big thing that this toy specifically helped with. And also imagination, the best part of, arguably the best part of Bionicle was you could create your own hero. Of course, there were heroes that were already pre-made for you, for example, from the lore wise, right? But you could also create your own, and that was the most fun part of it all, that you could mix, mash all of these different robots together to create like this dude. I mean, this was I guess already a made set, I think. But yeah, you could make some weird contraptions and some really cool contraptions. I remember specifically in primary school there was one dude that also always had this insane imagination of, and he would always be like come to school with a new beast of a bionicle that he created in his room. And I was like, how can a person have an imagination like that to build something like this? This is amazing. It looks even like better than a real hero. A real hero as in that Lego pre-made for you. And yeah, kids' minds are just very awesome in that. So in that sense, Bionicle was incredibly creativity promoting. And yeah, you also not just for the physical hero building aspect, but also world building too. I mean, as a kid, I literally had made my own little world with these, and there was my own lore going on with the heroes I had made. That was also like world building creativity was through the roof with these. So from that point too. So that's all I wanted to add. Essentially, why I made this video. Those are the most three important reasons. Of course, I would be very happy if Lego actually did bring these back to life, but I highly doubt, since they are I guess more focused. I mean, every company is more focused on the profits, but I promise you, Lego, people will buy these. Just get your heads out of your finally. And that's it. Just don't make them like you did with the second generation, and do it like in the first generation, and trust me, people will buy these. That is all from me, folks. This time, definitely. Bye.